You're listening to the Master Passive Income Podcast Network. Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. This is Dustin Heiner, and I'm here to help you create wealth, afford anything you want in life by investing in real estate so you can have financial freedom. And in today's show, we're going to be talking all about the listener questions about the fear and getting past fear when you're investing in real estate. And I'm going to show you how you can get past your fears and become a successful real estate investor. All right, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Master Passive Income Podcast, where we talk about investing in real estate with a special focus on making enough money so you can quit your job and live the dream life. And now, here's your host, Dustin Heiner.
What's up? What's up? Super blessed as always to have you here with me on the show. Now, you guys have been tracking with me a little while now, and there are so many great things going on in the real estate market that I am super pumped to share with you about. And also in this episode, helping you get past the fears. The fear that honestly, I got these fears. Everybody had these fears or have those fears. And then we get past them. We learn how to get past these fears through many different ways. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, when I first started investing back in 2006, eerily reminiscent of what's going on today in the real estate market. And I got past those fears by pushing through, by really just figuring out how to do it right. Well, you need to know how to do it right, where you're making money every single month. And when you do that, you're actually training your brain to get past fear. And you are also putting a link in your brain of success. You figured something out. You got something. You got that experience. That's why experience helps you to get so much better in anything. Like if you're riding a bike. If you're riding a bike, you keep falling over and over again, when you're young. But then once you get it, once you get that balance, you can never unlearn it. Like it's literally in you. And that's what we do with anything in life. When you're learning something new, it takes experience for you to get past those fears. If you think about what's going on in the market right now, the real estate market, you have high interest rates. In fact, interest rates are going back up. I think they're going to come down. Don't, say, hey, Dustin said they're going to come back down. They never did. But I think they're going to come down. And right now with the election's coming up. I think it's next week. If you're listening to this right now, it's coming up next week. And I am at the same time of all this election, interest rates, and high prices, I bought a 355-unit apartment complex closed in end of June. And here's the amazing thing. I literally just got, I'm a general partner, which a general partner is, there's 4 of us. General partners, we have a lot of limited partners. We raised, $12 million to buy a $33 million asset. And it's worth, I think, $60 million because we bought it discounted, which is super awesome. So, go back and listen to past episodes. You'll hear everything about those. And I just got a distribution from our investment, and it was amazing. Okay, I'll just go be straightforward and tell you what we got. I usually don't tell the numbers because that's not something I like to do. I just give you, basically teach you how to fish and you go fish. My wife never likes it when I give out numbers, but I'll tell you. So I put $100,000 into this company that we started and bought a property. I put $100,000 of my own money into this property. I would have put more because this was such an amazing screaming deal, but we bought another house or a house at the same time. It's a house in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where we are doing an actual Airbnb. It's crushing it, doing really, really well. So I put, $150,000 from down payment to fixing. Oh, no, $100,000. That was a little too much. $100,000 from down payment to fixing up and all that sort of stuff to get this other home. So we put in $100,000 of my own money, my wife and my own money into the deal, raised other money to help for the down payment. And I just got a $1,500 distribution, and this is our quarterly distributions, $1,500 that we are getting as a distribution money back because the property is doing so well. And I've seen, in fact, I know, and my students are buying properties all the time. I just bought, like I said, a 355-unit apartment complex and a home to live in. Here's another great thing. I am currently driving my family from Arizona to Tennessee. Like I'm literally on the road. We're actually in Albuquerque right now. And as I'm recording it, we're in Albuquerque on the 1,700-mile drive to Tennessee. I'm moving my family to Tennessee and I'm leaving my home in Phoenix as a midterm rental. We already have it rented. So we left on the 28th of October. It's rented on the 30th of October on until January 30th. So 3 months, we're making, I want to say it was like $3,500 a month for the midterm property. And then probably after that, we'll probably get some baseball player because we're literally in spring ball heaven right there for everybody. I mean, we like drive 2 miles here, you got Mariners, drive 2 miles there, you got, this team. And so people love, this is like the peak season for Airbnb and midterm properties. And then in the summer, we're going to do a midterm rental, renting per room. Per room, get that. And we could rent out all of our rooms. We have 3 bedrooms. Master bedroom, probably $1,500 a month. The other 2 bedrooms are probably about $1,200 a month. My goodness, we're getting, over $4,000 for a property that's a midterm rental. So everything from my Airbnb in Tennessee, which we're moving into right now, the apartment complexes, which I'm super pumped about the apartment complexes, to midterm rentals. If you buy right, if you negotiate, if you get properties off market, if you're in the business, you're going to be successful. I am buying properties all the time. My students are buying properties all the time. And if you are in the camp of, I'm buying my first property, I'm scared, or, I'm worried, and you have those fears, then you need to get past those fears, and we're going to help you. In fact, that's what we do at Master Passive Income. That's what this episode's about. Same thing. And let's say instead of a single family home, you're now scaling. You're scaling and you're following the Master Passive Income roadmap where you're no longer in the beginner starter stage where you're mom and pop, you have 1 property, maybe 5 properties. Once you get to 5 properties, then we get into larger deals. That's when we try to find deals that are making us more money. And the goal, once you have 5 properties, is to get to financial freedom. So when you're starting, you get to 5 properties as fast as possible. That gets you into the scaler or the business owner phase. Then you try to get to financial freedom as fast as possible by scaling your business. And each one of these steps, there are fears, there are problems, there are things coming in the way. Just like if you're going to buy your first, let's say 12-unit apartment complex, there's a lot more fears than when you bought your first property that got you on the roadmap. And then when you're buying your first, let's say 110-unit apartment complex, those are the large deals. That's when you're an expert investor. That's the 3rd section. That's where I'm in. That's where you need to get to. I want you to graduate from the first, where you're a beginner and it's starter and the mom and pop stage, get 5 properties fast. Then you get into the intermediate, which is basically you're a business owner, you're a scaler, you're now growing your business. Then you graduate into financial freedom. And then you're an expert. Then you're an investor. And I'll even probably bring you in as a speaker at REWBCON, the Real Estate Wealth Builder Conference we put on, because it's a community. We're helping each other out. But every single step that you go from one to the other, there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be fears. And there are always going to be solutions. There's always going to be a way to get past those fears. And if you are around the right people, go into REWBCON, listen to this podcast, come into the Real Estate Wealth Builders Club. In fact, we have the first REWBCLUB in Phoenix. We already have one in Charlotte. It's going tremendously well. We're starting our first one in Phoenix. If you are anywhere in Phoenix, we are putting on the very first REWBCLUB Phoenix. And it's going to be November 19th on Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Holiday Inns and Suites by the Phoenix Airport. I am literally flying back. Well, you guys know, I just said I'm driving my family to Tennessee. I've been in Arizona for 7 years. And then now my company, as soon as I'm leaving, decides to start a Phoenix REWBCLUB. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll fly back to come and speak and to be there. Wish I would have been there. Didn't have to fly back, but I want to see everybody. I want to get around everybody all over again. So I'm seeing so many great things about the real estate market that you should be excited about. If you have these fears, if you're buying your first 100-unit apartment complex, you have these fears that we need to get past, and that's what we do at Master Passive Income.
And I want to pause for a quick second and share that, honestly, I really want you to invest in real estate. Now, my new goal is to help 1 million people invest in real estate. So 2 things I would ask from you. Number 1, if you get anything out of this episode, please share it with somebody else. Just say, hey, check out Dustin and Master Passive Income. He really wants to help 1 million people to invest in real estate. That's number 1. Number 2, I want to get you to invest in real estate. Get my real estate investing course absolutely for free. Text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777. Rental to 33777. I'll literally give you my course, show you how to find an area of the country to invest, how to build the business first. You know, I always talk about that, and how to find the right properties, how to make sure you're getting experts to do the work for you, and scale the business to where you're making $250 or more in passive income. Scale it to quit your job. I'll literally get it to you, or go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Obviously, it'll be in the description, but I really, really want you to invest in real estate, because the more that actual, normal, everyday people own real estate that are good landlords, the better everybody's life gets. Now, we're going to be picking up back off of the last episode where we talked all about the fear, and I had a bunch of questions that we were going through, and I want to walk you through a few of the questions right now. So let's say you start feeling overwhelmed. You start seeing so many different properties. There's so many things you don't know. Well, you want to get educated. You don't want to lose sight of your goal. In order to get out of feeling overwhelmed, you need to get education to help you to know where you're going, but then also have the perseverance, because your goal in the future of what you want to do with your life and not work a job or be able to travel the world or whatever it might be, you want to be able to keep that in the forefront of your mind so it makes you work harder towards it. The next question I get is, what if I lose money? And again, I'm just quickly going over these. If you want to learn more about these, go to the last episode. So people ask, what if I lose money? You know, if you lose money, well, you don't want to lose money. Obviously, nobody wants to lose money. But what you need to do is mitigate those possibilities of you losing money. And by doing that, you are going to buy the right property. You're going to build a business. You're going to make sure you have enough income coming in from that property. And again, go back to the last episode where we talked all about how to do that. Now, people also ask, what if I buy the wrong property? Well, you need to build a team around you to help you find the right property. And what if I buy in the wrong area, the state or the country, wrong area of the country, or even the wrong town, or possibly even the wrong street? What if I do that? Well, there's ways around that. Now, I get so many questions about tenants, and this is what we're going to pick up on. People are going to ask, what if I get bad tenants? And I would talk about this in the last episode, but let's pick it up from here. So if I get bad tenants, the biggest thing you want to do is stop getting bad tenants. It's easy to say, harder to do, but here's what you want to do is run background checks. Always, always, always run a background check. Even if you need to pay yourself for the background check because the tenant won't, or the possible applicant will not pay for the background check, you absolutely need to pay that yourself, because you're going to be saving so much money in the long run. A $30 background check could save you as much as $2,000 in the turnover of property for somebody being evicted. Now, here's another question. Easily comes right after that is, what if I have an eviction? What if I have an eviction that is going to, have somebody stay in my property for a month, maybe 2 months, or if you live in California, like 8 months, because it takes forever for California to evict anybody. I'm more tongue in cheek. It's probably like 3 or 4. But anyways, so what if I have an eviction? And again, I have to say it again, do a background check. You're mitigating against losses by picking the right people to be inside your property. Another part of it is, don't let the tenant stay in the property longer than absolutely necessary. If they stop paying, you need to have business rules set up. And here's another part, another huge pro tip I'm going to give you. I'm going to walk you through this. And if you go to my show notes, masterpassiveincome.com/052, this is the 52nd Master Passive Income episode where I show you the business rules that you need to follow. So go to masterpassiveincome.com/051. Now, here's the business rules that you set up. Now, when I say business rules, this is what you're going to be giving your property manager, and that's what you're going to make sure that they follow. So set up business rules for your tenants. Number 1, rent is due on the 1st. Always on the 1st. So I've had some people, we're moving in on the 21st. Can we have that be our date? No. We'll just prorate it to where the 1st is your due date, and we'll prorate it, but you always do on the 1st. It gets convoluted if you do not have it on the 1st. Have everybody on the 1st, because if you have, 30 properties and each one has a different date, it just gets too crazy. Have everybody on the 1st. So number 1, rent is due on the 1st. Number 2, it is late after the 3rd. So that would be like March 4th. March 3rd, it's actually it's still not late, but March 4th, it's actually late. So you charge them a late fee. And on top of that, you put in a 3-day notice. So as soon as the 4th hits, you give them a 3-day notice. And it's nothing special. All you do is you write a letter and you tape it to the front door. Like you literally have to tape it to the front door. You can't like email it or anything like that. You tape it to the front door, letting them know like the rent is due. You are late now, and we're going to have to start the eviction process once the 3-day notice is done. Now, what you're doing is basically letting them know that, hey, you mean business. Like you cannot keep living in my place for free. Like if I didn't pay my mortgage, the bank would come after me and take my property away from me. So you need to hold them accountable to this. So you want the 3-day notice to be put on the door on the 4th or the day that it's late. Put it on there because you don't want to wait for that 3-day notice. Let's say, for instance, I'm going to be the nice guy. I'm going to I'm not going to give a 3-day notice. And the 14th rolls around, the 18th rolls around, and each time they said, hey, but next Friday. Oh, then, next Wednesday or next Friday or the first of the month. They keep pushing it back. Well, then if you haven't put your 3-day notice on it, you cannot start the eviction. It's against the law to start the eviction unless there's a 3-day notice. Most states, it might be some states where it doesn't work like that, but majority of states that I invest in, or all the states that I invest in, you put the 3-day notice first, and then after those 3 days, you can start the eviction process. So if you wait until the first of the next month, like you wait an entire month, well then you can't just start the eviction on the first of the next month because they haven't paid. You have to wait until you put the 3-day notice and then wait 3 more days, which adds insult to injury on top of that. You have to wait 3 more days before you can even start the eviction. And the eviction process takes about a month. And so the 3-day notice is going to be given on the 4th. Now, here's my business rule I'm going to give you. Put this inside the 3-day notice that eviction starts on the 14th. I give them a leeway. I'm not going to start the eviction right away. You can say the 10th, you can say the 15th, you can say the 25th, whatever you want to do. But I let them know that the eviction is going to start on the 14th and it's not going to stop. Here's the last part. To stop the eviction, the tenant must pay all back rents, late fees, and fees for the eviction, lawyer fees, and all that sort of stuff. Now, some courts might say, hey, you can't charge for that. Well, I still try. I still try to get them to pay. If they want to stop the eviction, they pay. What the courts might say is, hey, if they're willing to pay everything but the legal fees in order to stop the eviction. You can't pay for the legal fees. It's not like it's against the law for them to pay for the legal fees. The court sometimes just won't enforce that. They won't say, hey, this is a requirement. They might say, hey, they can pay everything else but the eviction. Anyways, all that to say, you want your business rules set up. Remember, rent is due on the 1st, late after the 3rd, 3-day notice on the 4th, eviction starts on the 14th or whatever date you choose, but you do not stop the eviction until the tenant pays all back rents, all late fees, and fees for eviction. Now, here's another pro tip. A pro tip I'm going to give you. Do not collect any money unless it's the full amount. Like the tenant might say, once the eviction started and it's already going, the tenant says, here's $100. I'm going to pay $100. Or even, let's say the rent is $1,000. They give you $900. Say, here's $900. Now you might say, hey, great, that's $900. Well, you literally cannot continue with the eviction. The eviction stops. You have to file it all over again. So my opinion, how I run my business is I don't take any money unless it's the full payment. You absolutely want to make sure you protect yourself from having to start the eviction all over again. Now, here's another thing that happens to most people is they get analysis paralysis. If you guys have ever heard that term, it's where you're overanalyzing. You have too much information going in your brain that you can't really make a solid decision. You can't figure out which one's the best one, even though you kind of think it is, but you kind of get paralyzed where you're thinking, oh man, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. Now, my answer to that is 2 things. Number 1, you need to get coaching. You need to get somebody that's a third party that's going to be looking at the deals for you, who's done it before, and say, this is what you're doing, with these 8 properties. This is the number 1. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. With the goals that you're going after, this is what I would suggest. Now, you make your own decision, but I would say go ahead and pull the trigger on these properties because these are good for you. And that usually, with all my students, that gets them over that hump, that hurdle to actually pull the trigger to buy that property. Now, here's the second part to that is, as an investor, getting that first property is always the hardest. It's always the hardest out of all the properties to buy because we're nervous, we're concerned, we're worried, all that sort of stuff. What I suggest is get one win under your belt. Get past that analysis paralysis, get past all the issues, and force yourself to buy that first property. Once you do, you get one win under your belt. Win would be having a property that makes you money every single month. Then it's going to be so much easier for you to buy that next property. Get one win under your belt. Now, here's a tip I want to give you. Do not lose money. And this goes back to the question earlier, but you don't want to lose money in this business. Now, here's a suggestion I'm going to give you. Make sure that you will make money by reducing your income from your rental property. Let's say you think you're going to rent it out for $1,200. Well, I would say, cut it by at least 10, maybe 20% and see if you're still going to make money. So if you're thinking you're going to make, $1,200 a month in rent, imagine you only make $1,000. If you make $1,200, that's fantastic. Good for you. But in your numbers, calculate $1,000 instead of $1,200, just in case there was something, you missed a number, or you missed something, or the property manager told you a wrong number, or whatever it might be. You want to make sure that you do not overestimate your income and underestimate your expenses. You want to have that all taken care of. I'll give you an example, like one area that I invest in Houston, there's actually a city tax on top of a county tax. Everywhere I've invested, it's a county tax, but this had a city tax, and get this, it was even double the amount the county tax was. So imagine the sticker shock when I saw a $2,300 tax bill come to me. It's like, what? $2,300? That's a lot of money. Now, praise the Lord, I got a really good deal on the property, so I was making $650 a month. So I was able to take that hit when I saw that sticker shock, but I make a lot less money than I normally would, like $2,300 less per year, which is a huge bummer. But oh well, I had enough padding in there. So what I'm telling you is, don't lose money, and you work on making at least $250 a month, and make sure that you cut your income and you increase your expenses. And if your numbers work well, then you probably have a good property. Now, here's another thing to get over that hurdle. You want to know your numbers on the property. So you calculate all your expenses. Know the numbers, meaning calculate making sure you're going to make $250 or more every single month. So in calculating your expenses, you want to double check and triple check all the expenses. Like, is there a city or a state or a county tax, or if there's even like a local HOA that you didn't know about, whatever it might be, you want to find every expense and you want to calculate all that in. And I'm going to tell you that even if you plan on managing the property yourself, you also want to make sure that you put in the price of a property manager. Because let's say, God forbid, something happened and you needed to have somebody else manage the property. Well, you don't want to be losing money, so you're going to have that expense accounted in. Imagine that is you paying yourself. Now, a next thing, along with knowing the numbers on the property, you want to buy according to your goals and financial ability. I'm not going to buy $1 million property because, number one, it'd be a waste of money because you can't rent it for that much. That's beside the point. But if your financial goal is just to slowly build wealth, then just buy a property that is going to be lower in maintenance and lower in headaches and not just headaches. That's not the right way to say it, but you have less work on the property because you're buying a better property. Now, for me, my goal was to quit my job as fast as possible. So I started with the cheapest rental properties. I was buying properties for, $12,000, $13,000. And in doing that, there was a lot more work I had to do. But my goal was to be aggressive and to get as much money in my pocket and passive income as possible. And so that was my goal. Now, my financial ability was I only had $17,000 to start with. So I had to use that to the best of my ability. Some people may start with, $300,000. Then they have a different financial ability to buy. So you want to buy according to your goals. And I'm going to tell you that when I work with my students, I work with them in where they are financially. If they have $15,000 to invest or $300,000 or more to invest, I figure out where they are, what their goals are, and what their financial ability is. And I give them options. I say, here are your options. You need to choose the best one, but these are the best routes that you can go for your goals and for your financial ability. Now, we're just about done. Now, I want to give you a to-do list. When you start feeling like, oh man, I have this property that I really want to buy, or man, I want to start investing and I'm just scared of buying that first property. Obviously, the first property is the hardest, but here's the to-do list that I want you to go through. The first thing to think about, I've said this before, is the easiest part of real estate investing is to actually buy the property. That's super easy. There's so many people that want to help you do that. Everything from realtors to title companies, wholesalers, all that sort of stuff. So buy in the right location. So finding the right state, finding the right city, even the right neighborhood, and even the zip code, that you want to make sure that you find the right place to invest in. And that's by doing research. So your first to do, find the right location. Your second to do is to have your business set up before you buy the property. finding the property managers, selecting the property managers, realtors, wholesalers, all these different business, other professionals that are going to be doing the work for you. You want to have that set up before you buy the property. Have your business completely set up, and they're going to help you set up the business right by, having a good property manager. He or she is going to find the right property or inspect the right property. The realtor is actually going to find you certain areas and say, this area is better than this one. Here's a good property, all that sort of stuff. So you have your business set up, people doing the work for you before you even buy. Next one is you need to find the right property to buy. Like actually find the right property that is actually going to be the right one for you, where you're not going to be afraid of the rehab. Like it's not, $80,000 property and you're putting another $80,000 in to fix it up. It's not like that. You want to be able to get that first win under your belt. We have a good property. You maybe put $3,000 into the property with paint, carpeting, new fixtures or something like that. Like you put a few $1,000s into it, but you're not doing a full remodel. That's a lot of work. And that's a whole another podcast episode. So you want to find the right property, and you're going to use other people to do that for you. Next step is, your next to do is run the numbers to make sure you're making at least $250 or more each month. And also go with my other pro tip is decrease your income from your rents and increase your expenses just to see if you're still going to make money, just in case if something didn't happen. So run the numbers, which means figure out if you're making $250 or more each month in passive income. Next step or to do is have inspectors go through the property before you buy it. I am so glad when I find properties that have work to do. So when I find them, I know that there's probably other things that I haven't seen. The home inspector is going to look at the entire property and give you a general understanding of the entire property. And what's great is when I get those back, usually, hopefully it's hey, this property looks great. Let's go ahead and buy it. I don't see anything new. Or there is something new, like, hey, the foundation's a little off. It's off by like 2 inches down on one side and opposed to the other. Well, I can go back to the seller. I can go back to the seller and say, hey, there's foundation issues. I didn't know this beforehand. I need to adjust my offer, or I need you to fix up that, or fix that entire sinking slab, in which they can. It's not horrible, but I need you to fix that before I can buy the property. So have your inspectors go through the property. You can either, if you want to back out, you absolutely can, because hopefully you put an inspection period. And I'll tell you that's what I tell all my students: make sure there's an inspection period. Another pro tip for you. But on top of that, the inspectors will give you the ability to renegotiate. And they'll also say, hey, you have a good peace of mind. This is a good property. So one thing I want to give you is, on top of that, next to do is you need to make an offer and leave room for negotiation. So I'm going to give you another pro tip. This is me as a negotiator. I love negotiating. I love getting cheaper in price. I love bringing the price down. Now, what's great is I have this saying that I give all my students. If you don't feel uncomfortable with the offer, you may be offering too much. Like if you're thinking, well, they're asking $350,000, I know I want to negotiate, so I want to come down, so I'm going to offer $348,000. You're taking $2,000 off. Well, you're probably not going to feel uncomfortable. I'll tell you what, I bought a property, and this was back in 2010, I think, 2009, 2010, right when the market crashed. So it was a little different scenario, but they were asking like $25,000 for the property. I literally offered $6,500. It was a bank, an REO, so it was a bank, so I didn't care about hurting their feelings. But at first I was like, $6,500. I kind of feel a little nervous, or I feel uncomfortable with the offer because it's such a low offer. Well, it turns out after 6 months of not responding to my offer, they came back and said, hey, is that offer still available? I said, yes, it is. And so I bought the property for $6,500 as opposed to $25,000. So if you don't feel uncomfortable with the offer, you may be offering too much. Work on coming down. Don't feel like you're ripping somebody off. You want to feel like you're helping somebody, because who knows, that might be the best offer that they're going to get, and they need to take it because, maybe they're getting a divorce, and maybe they need the money, or whatever it might be. Now, another to do. Now, the last one is allow others to do the rehab for you. I know a lot of people get concerned and worried about the rehab and how much it's going to cost and who's going to do it. You want others to do it. Everything from the contractors to property managers to roofers, all that sort of stuff. And I want to give you a few other things. Number one, get multiple quotes. Get multiple quotes on everything, from the entire contracting business. A contractor comes in, you want like 2 contractors to come in. If you have a septic system, make sure you get at least 2 or 3 quotes on that. But a big thing I want to give you with getting multiple quotes, negotiate the price. Negotiate the price on everything. If you get, 3 quotes, negotiate lower the price with all of them. I'll give you an example. So just recently, literally 2 days ago, I was literally in Salt Lake City. I got this email from my property manager. Number one, she got 1 quote for the property to be fixed up. The tenant was evicted. I had to fix up the property. Came back that there's $3,500 worth of work. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. I can't pay that. That's just way too much, because I knew the scope of work and I just thought it was way too much. And I said, I need you to get me at least 2 more quotes. 1 quote is not good enough for a $3,500 job. If it's $3,500, then so be it. It's $3,500. But this is ridiculous. I need at least 2 more quotes. She came back. She got 2 quotes. Came back and said, hey, one of them is, I think it was $3,200, which is great. Another one came back at $2,800. I'm like, okay, great. So we have 2 different quotes. I said, well, what do you think about the $2,800? Is it a good company, or are they just going to do shoddy work? She says, no, it's a good company. I think they're going to do really well. And we caught everything and everything looks good. We're going to go with them, or we recommend going with them. I said, great. Ask them if they'll do it for $2,500. And she's okay. And I said, yeah, ask them if they'll do it for $2,500. They actually did. They came back and said, yes, we'll do everything, the entire scope of work, for $2,500. Can you believe that? So fantastic ability to have money saved, because I just asked 2 questions. Number 1, get me multiple quotes. Number 2, I asked, can they come down on the price? Can you do it for $2,500? So that is a great way for you to save money.
And the way to get past all of these fears is to take action. And if you haven't bought your first property, if you haven't bought your first 5 unit, if you have not scaled to where you're financially independent, if you're not buying 355 unit apartment complexes like I am, stick with us, Master Passive Income. We are helping you along the Master Passive Income roadmap, getting you to become successfully unemployed so that you can live the dream life. But I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I'll see you guys next week.
And that is it for today. Go ahead and get my free real estate investing course. Text the word rental to 33777, RENTAL to 33777. You can also join my Real Estate Wealth Builders group coaching. Get all my courses. All right, guys, we'll see you in the next show. See ya.